Welcome to Thursday live stream. For those of you who's joining from TikTok, YouTube, and then Instagram, you'll be able to post comments or the questions, and then I will be able to answer not all of them, but many of them today. So once again, thank you so much for joining this live stream. I do this every Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Time, and we're just starting. Okay, so today I'm gonna answer as many questions you're posting today. So thank you so much for joining this live stream. And then once again, a little bit repeating for those of you who's joining from TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, you probably noticed that I use multiple devices for this, live stream. I will be able to answer. Also, those of you who join from or watch this from LinkedIn and Facebook, you'll be able to just watch them. So we have a first question here. Not prep. So it's a F2A means that your I-130 petitioner is a permanent resident, and then you're Indian citizen. So F2A cases takes overall from the beginning to the end 3 to 5 years. So so this is what's happening. Adjustment of the status inside the United States with this mandatory interview is really fast in terms of processing time. So marriage-based cases, usually you submit everything, and then 3 to 5 months later, you go for interview. But in contrast, consular process takes longer. Sadly, the K1, we're talking more than 1 year, and then CR1 spouse visa, maybe 18 months and a little bit longer. So it's taking longer. But anyway, we just started. So I'm attorney Jae Francis. I'm a U.S. immigration lawyer based in Chicago and Wisconsin, but serve all 50 states. I do multi-platform live stream every Thursday and then 5 p.m. Central Time. And we just started. Today, I'm going to answer as many questions today. So just, ask any questions. Today's topic is officially marriage green card case, but I will answer all U.S. immigration questions. Okay. So, Robbie, okay. Yeah, so then you have a marriage-based green card case, and then interview is coming up soon. I guess you're asking, maybe what are the good kind of tips for you? Well, I will tell you this: be honest, okay? And then listening is more important than talking. Hey, Lou Parlolier, right? So thank you so much for joining from YouTube. Just post the questions and I will answer as well. So we'll have a good interview. Okay. Yes, and then Carter asked the question. Looks like you have an online status update that the USCIS sends you the request for evidence, right? It's called RP. Usually, right, you need to submit a medical exam with everything else now. So it can be about the relationship, or it can be about A6 for sponsorship or joint sponsor, or it can be, like a document, like documents not sufficient. It can be birth certificates and all this. So it means that the USCIS need more information from you, and then usually not only information but supporting documents as well. So that's what that means. And then when you get RFE, the request for evidence, you have 87 days to respond. So it's absolutely important that you respond timely. Okay. We're getting a lot of questions from TikTok. Okay. Robbie asked question, can I hire me for your interview? Depends. My availability. And then I'm assuming that you're in Wisconsin or Chicago. Just contact us and then we'll see whether I can help you. Now, so I'm just scrolling this. Okay, so user 3302 asked the question here. So I-130 petitioner is your child, obviously over 21, U.S. citizen, and parent case, and then USCIS scheduled interview for you. For parent cases, they don't schedule all parent cases for interview, but they do it now. And then how long does it take? Depends on complexity of your case and how many cases your assigned officer has. Usually, I would say up to 120 days. Our cases approve really fast, but usually I say that cases that we didn't handle, you need to wait 120 days. So 120 days, and if you wait for 120 days and nothing happens, then you will be able to call USCIS and then report that your case is pending more than 120 days. Okay. Okay, so Le Palorier, so you're on TPS, right? And then you got married to U.S. citizen. Okay, you got married to U.S. citizen. But when you got married, your spouse was a permanent resident. But it's important that your spouse is U.S. citizen. More than ever, um, if you need to work with a lawyer. I mean, I know that many of you like to process your case on your own, but we're highly successful. But just good idea to work with a immigration lawyer. So it's important that you got married to a U.S. citizen, but you're on TPS. I wonder whether you initially entered with visa or without one. So call us, and then uh, if you like to talk to me or my other attorney Alicia, then it'll be a paid consultation. But it's absolutely important to talk to attorneys, and then you work with attorneys. Okay, immigration attorney. Okay, so Mrs. Walker, you got married to U.S. citizen last year. You didn't submit your case. So once again, Mrs. Walker, it's a good idea to work with immigration attorney. We would be happy to help you, regardless of where you live. Those of you who follow me on social media, you see that we process cases nationwide. We're highly successful regardless of where you live. So contact us, and then we would be happy to help you. Okay. So Faizan, okay, let me see. Yeah, so then you're waiting for 130/45 decision. You said it's been 5 months. It means like 5 months since initial filing or after interview. It's kind of hard to tell. But if you are referring to waiting 5 months after initial filing, that's expected. But more likely, you're talking about waiting for I-130 and 45 review and decision after your interview. So you waited 5 months and then you submit it, or you contact USCIS for status update. So it looks like that's what's going on here. Now, for those of you who join for the first time, we get a lot more questions from TikTok, and I use iPad, so I need to scroll down with a finger, and sometimes it's kind of small, so I can be a little bit slow. Okay, so Beliete, well, it's been over 5 years, right? After COVID, my son got married, still nothing yet. So you need to a little bit explain. Is it like a petition by your son? I'm not sure. Please explain a little bit. Thank you so much for the gifts, virtual gifts anyway. Derivative U.S. citizen for adults. Okay. So Angel Flower asked question about derivative U.S. citizen for adults. You need to provide a little bit more context to your question, so it's not clear what you meant. Okay, Sanjan, okay, asked a really good question. So Sanjan obtained permanent residency based upon approved asylum, so you're permanent resident. And then is it safe for you to go overseas? Obviously, assuming that you don't have any criminal records, right? But at the same time, since you claim that if you go back to your home country, you'll be subject to persecution, you shouldn't go to your home country, period, right? So because you're saying that now it's a safe, unless your country condition, has changed, like a Syria, right? So it's safer now, right? But I'm just making up, if you're from Syria and then apply for asylum some years ago, and now you're thinking about going back to Syria, maybe, but still, it just, you need to be careful, because you claim that if I go back to my home country, I'll be subject to persecution. Okay. Suchi. Okay, so you had a Stokes interview. It means that you're interviewed separately on the same day, June 17. Okay. 45 is still pending. Okay, so I mean, like the fact that you and your spouse interview separately doesn't mean that they have major issues with you. If you are in Massachusetts, that all cases scheduled for separate interview, but in Chicago, Wisconsin, and then other states, it's not common. The default is still, being interviewed together. So I wouldn't discourage for the fact that you're interviewed separately, but like I said, after interview, you need to wait 120 days to start contacting USCIS. Yes, Mrs. Walker asks, how much does it cost if you work with us? I don't usually tell, not usually, I don't tell how much it's going to cost. We need to assess your case. So then contact us. Now, Mrs. Walker, if you go to my profile, TikTok, right? Dr. Jae Francis Immigration, there's a paid consultation link. My consultation fee is reasonable, $150 up to 30 minutes. Others usually higher. So just schedule paid consultation. I'm going to do detailed case evaluation, tell you how long it'll takes, and then I will tell you how much it's going to cost as well. So Henrique asked the question. So you have an upcoming interview next month in August. And then sponsor, it means that your spouse, lost her job. What do you need to do? To be safe, depends. Well, I'm not your attorney, so don't count on what I'm saying. That we're talking going interview in August. If your spouse made enough money up to this point, then maybe okay. I'm just wondering whether your spouse will apply for unemployment compensation. Just a little bit tricky situation. I hope that you work with attorney. This is why you work with attorney, because when you submit a case, you think that everything's predictable, foreseeable, and then something happens, and then you wonder like what you need to do, right? Because remember, all adjustment of the status AOS cases scheduled for interview. Okay. Yeah. So then, Sanjan, you had a defensive asylum case. Good for you. It wasn't easy, right? But you won, and then you have a green card. You asked a question here. So can you go back? Can you go overseas? Not to your home country. Okay. So green card holder to U.S. citizen in waiting. Rabian, it's kind of, you need to clarify. So green card holder to U.S. citizen. It means, I'm not sure what's the relationship here, but you need to clarify. Okay, so I'm gonna pause a little bit, and then I'll try to answer the questions. Ashutosh, thank you so much for joining from Instagram. Now, birthright citizenship. You will remember the Supreme Court last month, held that nationwide injunction was invalid. Nationwide injunction imposed by district courts, according to Supreme Court, they say it's invalid. They didn't make any ruling on whether Trump's executive order to terminate birthright rights was constitutional or not. They didn't make a decision. But By banning nationwide injunction, it would have significant impacts. So, for example, after July 27 of this year, if you live in 22 states and the District of Columbia and give a birth there, then your child will be automatically U.S. citizen as long as the cases at the lower federal court continues. And then if you're in 28 states like Texas and Florida, then after July 27, then your child is not U.S. citizen automatically. In order to claim that your child is U.S. citizen, you need to file a lawsuit. Now there has been class action lawsuit, and then the federal judge today issue or granted nationwide injunction for 7 days. So well, still within this, July 27. So, it'll be appeal and then potentially it'll go to Supreme Court. So I will keep you posted. But for now, nationwide injunction based upon class action was granted today. Okay, Ashutosh. Okay. So Ashutosh, you're a little bit ahead of schedule. You haven't attended your interview, but you're asking. Um, you're gonna get conditional green card for 2 years, and is it safe for you to go back to home country right after you obtain permanent residency? We'll tell you what to do. But if you're conditional residence, going overseas this year is not a good idea. But if you come back with your spouse, U.S. citizen spouse, then you may be okay. But we'll talk about that after your case is approved, and then we'll go step by step. So coming back, okay, Sanjan, thank you so much for being patient. You're asking whether she can go any other country but her home country. Answer is usually yes. So as long as you don't go back to your home country, you'll be okay. I think that okay, yeah. So then, Gulnaz, right, asked the question, what's the future of the DACA? That's excellent question. We're not talking about DACA lately, which is good, right? But the Fifth Circuit Court, right, second level court, say that USCIS, you need to process both initial and renewal DACA. The government, USCIS, still processing renewals, and DACA advanced parole, no issue, right? But they're accepting initial DACA, but they're not approving. So basically, USCIS saying that, well, I know that you you're asking us to review, but say like we're not doing this. So under Trump, USCIS not reviewing any initial DACA, but you may submit your case. Okay, so it'll be pending. So thank you so much for asking your excellent question here. Okay, Bob Key asked the question. You'd like to apply for asylum. Okay, so you follow this a passage of One Big Beautiful Bill Act, right? OBBBA, right? And then there's many provisions related to immigration. Now, when you apply for asylum, you need to pay $100, whether it's with a court or USCIS. So as long as you pay $100, absolutely you can apply for asylum. And then, Bob Key, if you need attorney for your either affirmative asylum with the USCIS or defensive asylum with immigration court, let us know. We would be happy to assess whether you have a good case or not. Also, according to this new One Big Beautiful Bill Act, right? For your work permit, it's not free anymore, right? You need to pay $550. Now, it's kind of surprising. This act is up to or more than 1,000 pages. And then they said that you need to pay 265 for renewal, but they didn't say that whether this, asylum-based EAD is valid for 6 months or 1 year. The final version doesn't say. So, we're not sure, but you need to pay. You need to pay for initial filing. You need to pay $100 as long as it's pending. You need to pay $550 to get initial work permit. And then we don't know whether it'll be valid for 6 months or 1 year. You need to pay $265 for renewal. Now, prior to that passage, You didn't pay anything for initial filing. You didn't pay anything for asylum. And then for initial work permit, you didn't pay anything. And then they give you 5-year EAD, but they're all gone. They're all gone. So I will keep you posted. It just became very difficult to apply for asylum. Okay, let me see. Okay, just a little bit behind. Just be patient, okay? I have a lot of questions here, okay? Okay. So Mariah asked the question. So your spouse has withholding of removal. So withholding of removal, it means that you're not removed, right? But doesn't mean that you're able to adjust. So your I-130 is pending for two years, and then what's the next step? Mariah, if you don't have an attorney, contact us. So basically, when your I-130 is approved, you can ask the court to reopen the case, reopen the removal proceeding, and then you should ask them to dismiss the case. So then you can continue, but under Trump is just difficult and depends on where you live. It can be challenging. So that's something that you need to work with attorney. Maybe you have an attorney, but that's absolutely important. Okay, so I'm gonna drink some water. Okay, just be patient. So Gulnaz, right? So you're permanent resident, right? Permanent resident, and you file case for your daughter, DACA recipients. Um, okay, so your case is a tricky, so you probably need a paid consultation if you don't have an attorney. So I'm not able to tell you now because it kind of depends on types of DACA, whether your child has have any unlawful presence or not. It's going to factor because the rule is this, right? So if your child is over 21, right, over 21 and have an unlawful presence, then the fact that you're a permanent resident doesn't forgive any of this. So it's absolutely important to see whether your child has any unlawful presence. Okay, and then age will be important too. Okay, so patient. Okay, you're a permanent resident. Okay, for your husband. So you're I-130 petitioner, and then you submitted I-130 petition September 2022, and then you're waiting quite some time. In F2A cases take between 3 and 5 years, and then you're almost there. Almost there. You're approaching 3 years. Hey, Pedro, how are you? Our client, joining from YouTube, ask the question, and then I will answer. Okay. Thank you so much for joining and asking question here. Okay, I think that I'm missing some of the question here. Okay, Aris. Okay, so the question is, whether they can file for spouse visa. You're talking CR1 spouse visa, right? After you got married, looks like your spouse overseas, and then depends on how long you've been in relationship, right? So that's the one of the requirement when you complete the civil marriage. Then you can apply for CR1 spouse visa. If you need attorney, just let us know. Oh, okay, Pedro. Thank you so much for joining. Pedro, and then Astush, your regular guest, and then thank you so much for joining and say hello. So have a good rest of the Thursday. I'm almost wrapping up today's Zoom, but I'm glad that you joined and say hello. Thank you so much. Okay. Yes. Then Ahmed, maybe that's your name. Is there interview for 751? The petition to remove the conditions. For our cases, no, right? Especially when you file together jointly. For if you file separately, then there will be interview. So, but if you file together, Then our cases, there is no interview. There's no interview. Okay. Now, I will be talking about one more topic. I made a video. So denaturalization. Okay. So for those of you who know me, I was U.S. history professor for 22 years. So whenever I have a chance, I like to talk about like American history. So the denaturalization means is that this government has capacity to remove the U.S. citizenship that you obtain through naturalization. Okay, and then they're not gonna say that like just like the President Trump, like social media, and then like you're not U.S. citizen. They're not supposed to do it. You have a due process protection. You're a U.S. citizen anyway, right? So they may commence civil proceeding against you, so that what would be the ground you lie to governments, you have a serious criminal records, you're alleged a terrorist. But this country denaturalized many naturalized US citizens in the past. You can easily guess. During the Cold War, communists, right? Either actual or alleged communists were denaturalized and many of them deported. Later, at the time, Nazis, right? Nazi party, denaturalized. And then after 9/11, terrorists. And when Trump became the president first time, numbers not exact, but about 150 naturalized U.S. citizens were denaturalized. So June 11 of this year, Department of Justice, shared or announced the memo. They listed about 7 to 8 priority for DOJ, and then one of them was that they were gonna be aggressive, denaturalizing naturalized U.S. citizen. So it means that if you're a naturalized citizen, it means your citizenship is not permanent. So be careful. According to the memo, right, they listed certain criteria. Usual suspect, you pose threat to national security, you lie, right, when you apply for naturalization, all this. But one thing that's caught my attention, couple of them, is this. They're talking about criminal charge at any time. So it's not about your criminal charge before you became naturalized U.S. citizen. They're talking about any time. So then you became a naturalized citizen, and then you have a DUI. Then government, if they want, they may start this proceeding against you. So it can be any time. They're talking about criminal charge, not the conviction. So that's like really broad. And then toward the end of list of this criteria, they say that well we can commence this proceeding against anyone. Basically, that's what it is. So they start with the specific grounds, and at the end say that well we'll just do whatever we want. So it's the scary stuff. So I'll keep you posted. Okay. Yes. So then Amol, you asked the question. So when do you get work permit if you have a pending marriage green card case? So I will tell this. You're in California, but doesn't really matter. It's about the same everywhere. So you submit your marriage green card case, and about 3 to 5 months later, either you get work permit or they schedule interview for you. Okay, work permit or they schedule interview for you. Okay, so it's going really fast, right? It's going really fast. Okay, so thank you so much for asking the question. Okay, so it's time to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining from TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. I think that I answered more questions than previously, but because we live under Trump, it means that there will be some updates. So I will share all of them. Now, I will see you next Thursday, 5 p.m. Central Time. Thank you so much for joining this, either live or later. Until then, peace be with you.